Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants. Tashidelek, everyone. And I would like to inform you that Tenzin Lakpala is going to be Geshe's translator for this course. And I'm now going to share with you about our center's biography. Menlai Jamse Tibetan Buddhist Center, Mumbai, was founded by Geshe Lobsang Tenzin in the year 2018. Menlai Jamse means love and compassion of Medicine Buddha. Geshe has generously dedicated his life to offer his services, and he does so by providing Buddhist education to the local people, by reviving the Nalanda tradition, by promoting secular human values, by promoting interreligious harmony, and by helping individuals to develop mental peace through the practice of meditation and mind training. This center was built with the aim to fulfill the wishes and the vision of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. In order to accomplish this mission, Geshe included all the elements which encompass His Holiness' vision. Therefore, Menlai Jamse is a center for Buddhist philosophy and psychology in the Nalanda tradition, center for mind training and the cultivation of compassion, center for propagation of universal happiness through religious studies, center for the study of meditation, healing, and mental peace, Center for the Study of Secular Ethics, Center for Conservation of Ecology. And now I would like to share the schedule of the coming teachings. And the text is Nagarjuna Letter to a Friend, and the teachings are led by Geshe Lobsang Tenzin La. And so the dates of the online teachings for the year 2024 are April 7th and April 28th, July 14th and July 28th, August 14th and August 25th, September 1st and September 22nd, October 6th and October 27th, November 10th and November 17th. And the time is from 3 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And now I'm going to recite the prayers. So I would invite everyone to please keep your microphone muted. Thank you. And I'm going to share the prayers on the screen. Um, I hope everyone can see.
Yes.
It's visible, yeah?
Yes.
Great. So starting with the prayers, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulation of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulation of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulation of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And now the four immeasurables. May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from the bliss that is free of suffering. May all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred towards those near and far. May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from the bliss that is free of suffering. May all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred towards those near and far. May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from the bliss that is free of suffering. May all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred towards those near and far. And now I would like to invite Geshe to begin the teaching and Nagarjuna's letter to a friend. And I would like to thank Tenzin Lakpala for translating. Geshe, you may begin. Thank you.
강에 도전지도는 또바텀제 또메리 템베션에 된다고 도담된 차트는 to everyone. Okay, so now I'm going to start the teaching in Tibetan language. That that 계산은 저기 어디 개와주여라 개와주봉 개발려남 주어다 매개 주방 주름 줘라. 디고라 딩글랑은 저기 어디 카를라와데 디스 까마직지 디고라 사마타야도 시라. 인터넷에 당봉한 적이 있어서 안에 서버든 정말 relation 셈다 서버 정말 relation 되네 오종된 숨 야숨마숨 어딘데 relation 땅 디로지 아니 뭐 대답은
Okay, Nessa, very sorry. Tahitale to everyone. And as we have already discussed the 10 precepts in last class, so today we're going to first begin with the reflective meditation on the 10 precepts. So Geshe is telling everyone to sit in a relaxed posture and with a relaxed mind. And then we will begin by inhaling 3 times slowly and exhaling 3 times slowly.
당보데 르relate 넘버 숨라라 숨 되는 당보다라 소주보다 매진발된 로임 된줄라 삼라던
So, as we have discussed previously, the first is the three percepts of the body. So, which is to refrain from killing, from stealing, and to refrain from sexual misconduct. So, please reflect on what we have discussed previously on these three.
네, ngāgi ngāmbā shīlara, ngāgi dzūn tāma cikchuk ngāche, dīnala tī samdāng.
And then we discussed about the four precepts of the speech, to refrain from telling lies, to refrain from telling divisive talk, to refrain from using harsh words, and to refrain from talking rumors, and to refrain from gossips. So reflect on these four.
Tādī jāyā tā kēsā ngāndō ngā dīne dzūn tā tāma cikchuk ngāche shēra, tādī chāsā ngā yāqō chī sāyā mārē, tādī ngā nāno dī sabchē rō dī dzūn tā tāma rō chē kī tōs, mē kē chū nāna shāshā na, ngā gā tōne xīn nāna dzūn tā tāma dī sabchē mā rō chē, pēsē na ngā dī nīwa chāmba shōs. Kāisā na tā ngā dzūn tā tāma shēwē tēnjē nī, tā chūngsā nā shēwā na chokbu nī pā rō rō chāmbu dī mē chūmbā suē. Bēlē chēwā nē chīmdāng nāngzū pātā chūkshāyā. Tēnē chīmdē yāyā pāt chūkshāyā. Tēnē jāgāb pāt chūkshāyā. Tēnē lē sōkpa tā dzūn tā tāmañi pātū xiāni. Sāngmā bētē tā dzamnēng nā pāna mā lā sō tēnē kē lāngyā kē jū tēnē sōtō kōrēs. Ngā sā nūpa tē. Tēnē chū yōrēs ngā nīpa. Tē yā pō mātāmbā yinā. Tēnē pē nyingā chūmbōrēs.
So previously, we out of the four precepts of the speech, we only discussed, we didn't complete the entire thing previously. So out of the four precepts, the most important ones are to refrain from lying and divisive talk. If we consider it in a small scale, when we tell a lie, or when we say a divisive, when we actually practice a divisive talk, we tend to break up between friends, two friends in a small scale. And in a more larger scale, you break up families. Then you you bring disharmony in a neighborhood, a community. And in a larger scale, you bring disharmony in a country. And so telling a lie and to speak divisive talk is also the cause of these big wars that are happening everywhere in the world. So therefore, one should refrain from telling lies or speaking divisive talk.
Tādī jāyā ngā nūpa tē tōkwa chōna shēwā yā tā tīndē yōrēs. Tā rūpchō tōna shēwā yā ngā nūpa tē hāngsā yā tā nūpa chōmba shēwārēs. Pēchā yā tā ngā dzō chō shē tē, ngā dzō tāmba chō shē, sāngma chōngā tē chōmdē tēne chōngā sō tā. Chōngā tē chōngkōng tē, chōngā tē chōmdē tē kē chō tē mā sōng, chō tē dūjā ñamsā lē mbal tēne tāpa tā tamjā kīmbā kōmbā lā tūbē kē tsōpa tē, jitā lō tōna chō sōngā yor tā tsōpa tē ngā tōna chō sōngā rēs. chōmdē tē kē tāndā chō 데 최근도 가자 여봐 배자든도 송도도 가자 여봐 대세도 좀 대열에서 가와 좀 되다 송 여봐 대 산제 nga yes 산제 송 여스 그래서 나 땅아 저좀 되다 좀 마세 남자 준다 가 저거 달랍다고 차샤 와이나래 된저 마 럽정 라바 가서 nga 돈에 씌워라 다 신에도 빠진데 지를 때에 nga 돈에 씌워도 다 nga 되게 누가 돼 아니 해줘 야고 땅 아니나 항상 이거 누가 쳐버렸어.
So the previous example is the misuse of a speech. So our speech has great power with it. And then if we use it for a negative thing, it can produce things like causing war and things. Similarly, in the counter, if we use it for a benefit to others, if we use it in a good way, the speech is also very powerful. And one of the most clear or apparent example of this is the dharma that we are practicing now. This dharma is the power of speech of the Buddha. Buddha has taught us Buddha has actually taught the Dharma through body, speech, and mind. But the Dharma that we are studying now is the speech of the Buddha. And so Buddha himself said that where there is my teaching, where there is the sutra or my teaching, there is Buddha. So wherever there is the Dharma, that is the speech of Buddha, the Buddha resides there himself. So therefore, this is the power of speech. And if we talk about in general, we can talk about the teachings and the education that are given in schools. So we see that all the education, all the teaching that the teachers would give in the school, all of them are through the power of speech. And if one can give good advice, one can give good teaching, we see that it brings about great change. So therefore, this is the power of speech when it is used for a good cause or in a good way.
근데 이제 다 산장에 지당 최 본부 제대 시동성 그래서 네 최저 콜로숨 콜로림바 숨다 최저 본부 제대 시동 네 다는 지금 대파 숨다 쓰고 남자 뭐 숨었다 숨어 담장 하고 숨어 다 숨에 대 그바 가지도 숨어래 써봐야나 다 숨세 요되게 삼로치 마두바데 뒤에 쳐도 숨어래 그래서 단대게 안에 컴플리트 쪽에 손샵에 안에 시팅 되냐 다랑 찍어 차요 숨에 그거 좀 되대
So the teaching of Buddha, as we know, are in the 84,000 bodies of Dharma or teachings. And Buddha taught this particular Dharma in terms of three turning of the wheel of Dharma. And there are three vehicles in this turning of wheel of Dharma. So why did Buddha teach such a Dharma? What was the purpose? And the purpose of this particular teaching was so that the follower or the disciples would be able to condition their mind so that they could condition their mind to liberate themselves from suffering. And that is the reason why Buddha taught all these teaching. And similarly, Nagarjuna in this very context that we're studying the text called A Letter to a Friend, the very reason why Nagarjuna actually wrote this letter or taught this was also for the same reason, that is to be able for the disciples, or in this case, particularly the king Gautamiputra, to condition his mind according to conditions and circumstances of life. So when we say lie, it is to utter false speech, something that is not true. When we say divisive speech, it is a speech with the intention of wanting to create a sort of separation between two people. And when we say harsh word, it is a word that is spoken with the intention of hurting someone's feeling. And when we say gossip, it means a sort of usage of speech, a talk, which doesn't have any meaning. So therefore, one should always refrain from doing this and protect the four precepts of the speech.
onda deje ani da tendo luda nga number tamje chungsa de kawa chungsa da developna semse chor sem dege da developna chung horis ande desuna dela ani sem dela she dela da de lunga yesumna yege ani naksem nesum lokta sum shor naksem sebana da de tocha tok 뭐 한다 착바치 뭐 베네즈리 예노 이동 오말 확바게 또또 바차바체 뇌sem제나 셴나 뇌바치야 삼도 어딘데게 셴나 뇌고 삼에 삼도체 록다 세바데 베세잖아 양다바 많이 바지라 양다바 따바들라 록다스 어디로 도시나 진데도체
So now when we talk about all of these precepts and refraining of them, when we are going in the influence of these, for example, of the non-virtuous actions of the body and the non-virtuous actions of the speech, the sort of mastermind, the one that works behind everything, is the mind. The mind is the one that makes us go in the influence of these things. And so when we talk about the mind, there are three non-virtuous actions or three non-virtuous actions. The first one is the envy, or the feeling of attachment towards something due to the exaggeration of the mind. And so this particular mind, to feel envy either for someone else's possession or to feel attachment towards something, is the first non-virtuous action of the mind. The second one is the intention of harming, intention of doing harm to someone else. And this is the second non-virtuous action of the mind. And the third one is to have a perverted or the misconceived perception of the reality, to consider something that is not true as the ultimate truth. So this is the third. For example, to feel that dharma is that the actual dharma is not the true dharma. So this kind of mind is known as the misconception or perverted mind. So these are the three non-virtuous action of the mind, and to refrain from them are the three percepts of the mind.
어때서나다 룡아 류당아 예숨지다 쇼바 도미에저라 디 하장 칸섬버레스 데마세 안에 덴데게 데체스 안에 창세도 지단게 단다 가 류게 예지 넘버숨도 디 게와 주마 줄라 칼리가 마시아 인스트린 어때 좀제 데네체 안에 창도 장남나네 또데 창세대 안에 하장게 녀가 전부 적었어 가이서나 장동안에 되냐가 아니 그래서나 소소게 시바타나 시면을 찾아오스 디 제체네 아니 소소가 다른 문제는 저 통대라 근데 초보쇼스 초보쇼네 소리 당겨요 그래서 간저 시원하지 근데 창동에 된제 아니 배 소소게 소보라야 누구랬어 대마세 소소게 다 팀단 내미 상마 소소 매저거랑 돌아도 얘기 되게 내가 열었어 그래서 창대 다 이제 다발에 찾아오는 창 자기 특별적으로 디레저 동쪽 말을 좀 되다 까요. 가서는 장 동안에 직동 니동 숨동 내 갈래 대 최매배시 최매시배 가자세요. 화장탑에 가자 쓰는 최매시에서 춘조도 나고 니동이 장난션 간단한 뱃대 다 된다고 저는 에틱 나다. 내랑 쇼스나 아니 장 말아와는 요쪽스다. 이런 뭔가스다. 그래서 나타 소재 밑에 돌아다닌다. 맞아요. 아니 장 동안에는 가서 저 응쪽으로 도송 가다 쪽 페이스 그자 요마라 어딜라 소바다 데 녀바숙 좀 쇼다 난dem겨 가서 계산하도 시에되겠다 소소게 김장상 막 토르드에 녀바 열들 창세 까고인데 다가제 미디어에나 패창 배터 까면은 나 뉴뉴 따이도 계속 마셔 체체 주로 딱봐 체정아 딜라 다 동금에서 거드네 딜레 쳐바나 시라 뉴 마라 소벌레 뉴 마라 소소에니 변전에 뉴 마라 어떤 체체데 배 소저게 가서 어때 전반대 만년했던 어때 체육에서 항상 계속부터 장동을 값을 있나 가리 디직지
So therefore, one should always refrain from the non-virtuous action of the body, speech, and mind. And other than that, in the 10 percept, there is the percept of refraining from the consumption of alcohol. So the consumption of alcohol primarily is something that harms us, ourselves, our body. And upon that, it also brings a great deal of harm to the people near people who are in our environment. So when someone drinks alcohol, they totally lose control of their mind. And because of this, it arises fights. And sometimes these fights, because people are not in their correct mind, they are not conscious enough to take good decision, it leads to killing sometimes. And so it also brings great harm to the family. And so things like overconsumption of alcohol also leads to separation of family. And so therefore, we see that the alcohol brings great sort of loss, and there is no single benefit to it. For example, for a monk, Buddha has said that not even a single drop of alcohol is allowed. Because it is a restriction, because alcohol is something that is addictive. If you drink few drops, you want to drink more. If you drink even little more, you want to drink even little more. So therefore, because it is something that is addictive, Buddha said that from the beginning, he said that you should not even drink a single drop. so that one would not go under the influence of addiction. And we see that those people who are very much addicted to alcohol, when they don't get the alcohol, they become sort of unstable mentally because of that craving. So we see the harm the alcohol does and the addiction of alcohol does. And so for the monks, it is not allowed to even have 1 drop of alcohol. For the layperson, those who are not able to directly stop the consumption, they should reduce it little by little, little by little. And then they should put a limit and they should make a commitment to themselves. Today, I shall drink only this much and then reduce, so that even if a harm is done, it is less than overconsumption.
아니 참 맞아요. 소발라야 ngombar 개바 줘라라데 록조세지 록조세만 수는 남자 된다는 건데 니레 쳐와대 아니 록과 쳐봤어 진짜 록조를 이와 먹으셔 다들 시험을 거쳐 가서나 저와 중에 되다 밀고 고고 당하다 딘데게 되네기다 적중도 고고 시험에다 초바 중에대 배조 당하는데 록과 쳐봤어 배나 다지는 지는 고고다 적중 시험에 배셔서 가르나 줄래 대대수 배조 당하도 딘데보다는 록과 쳐버려서 딘데 안균에 잡으셔라 딘데 준에 지어요 말했어 딘데 송
So the other one that is one of the precept is to have a wholesome livelihood. So what is wholesome livelihood? It is a livelihood that you have by doing true work, a good work, to do truthful work, not to lie to anyone, not to deceive someone for your benefit, to live truthful to yourself. And if you earn a living by doing those things, by being truthful, this is called a wholesome livelihood. To do the opposite is the unwholesome livelihood, to deceive someone, to tell lie, and to sort of rob someone, to steal something from someone, and to sustain or live in such condition is known as unwholesome livelihood. And so to refrain from this is known as wholesome livelihood. And one should practice the wholesome livelihood in their life.
단다 계산한데 지구 숨게 남자 송라 남자 지구 중은 돌되는 시간에 지구 중은 남지 지구 중은 어떤 남지를 받을 다 대가서 도도니 송도 제제 쭉 남선은 거래 싹 잡아줘라 아니 개별하는 주고 어떤 조다 아니 장다는 로조 어떤 조 방거래서 되게 니 지구 중은 더 도망가 남들이 몰라 또 돌되는 시간에 니 송어서 가자 제제 nyamsel ngores ene kebele nam chudane changda na lotu da pangores desu to shuna.
So previously we talked about the 3 types of practitioner: the small practitioner, the intermediate practitioner, and the higher or the great practitioner. So this, as we said, are the 2 presentation or 2 types of practice, the common path practice of the small practitioner. The first one is the 6 recalling, and the second one is upholding the 10 percept. And so therefore one should always practice as a person of a small practitioner. One should always do the practice of recalling the 6 to do the recalling of the 6 qualities. And then at the same time one should uphold the 10 percepts, such as not consuming the 10 wholesome or virtuous actions of the body, mind, and speech, as well as to not consume alcohol and to have a wholesome livelihood.
근데 이제 다들 지구 뱅다 또 뭐 남들 받으나 다들 니시도 제대로 니 돌드는 시바이나 근데 당보대 거에 편조를 맞아 그 짐발을 납고레스 다 짐발에 간다 롱주 요원용부 매체네 개정 담세 때다 시남나스 짐바 소신 제지 파로도 신뢰 신배 년조 매치소스 다들 특제 됐음.
So for the common path practice of the intermediate practitioner, the first one is to have no attachment to the worldly consumption or the materialistic things, and to do that, to adopt the practice of generosity. And so Nagarjuna says, knowing the wealth is unstable and devoid of essence, rightly offer gifts upon monks, brahmins, the poor, and friends. As for the next life, there is no more excellent a kinsman than giving.
같은 모델라 됐습니다. 농조 요가 님보 매체네. 다 간저 주변절로서 농조 된절라 네 데리스. 요바랑 신제레스. 드는 영보스 가요 말스. 다 하야스나 요바랑 진세 컨트롤에서 반다 빼나 미질레 벤조데 같아. 약보여나야한테 뺐다거나 벤조다 된저 상만 데리스. 메딱 바레스. 주거도 쳐줘레스. 배차전에 다른 농바질에 잡아지다 미사 쇼고 쇼시. 다 딜레 벤조다 항상 요나 다 딜라 니마직 사용도 저거 출로 줘봐 농조 잡네. 근데 이주노 농조다 스타스 세싱도 가려나 상마 매바차야게 되는가 요르스. 대마세 안에 미지는 거 쇼요나 양거 좀 구마쇼세 바래 안에 뭐 메시게라서 과다 안에 취티라서 뭐다 니레기 년가 첨부 여대베게 되는 신제 레스터티 어딘데 저래 년보스 요 말했어. 되네 좀.
So the first line that says that knowing the wealth is unstable, it means that the wealth that someone accumulates, the materialistic things, it is without any essence. So what does it mean that it is without essence? It means that no matter how much you accumulate the wealth, it doesn't matter how much you accumulate the wealth, the very nature of the wealth, it's still impermanent. It's still perishable. It is still not a stable thing. For example, if let's say a family has a great wealth, they have great wealth, they have a lot of lands, and they have great fields and everything. And then one day, flood may happen. The flood will destroy everything. Whatever wealth they have accumulated for years and years, everything will be destroyed by a flood. And then at the end, they will be left with nothing. Similarly, someone might be earning for their entire lifetime, and then this particular wealth could be robbed by someone, could be stolen by someone. It could just vanish at the next second. So therefore, this very nature of the wealth, of not being dependable, is what it means that it is without essence.
그래서 나 답변나 다 등사 단자 가서 찾아오는 벤조스를 그냥 캐좀 쇼체 워스. 이 응도 근데 매바나 다 단자 값서 내가 좀 매마이나데 다 추다 보통에다 네 정부 당사 단성 의대고 말았어. 주 거왔던 돈에서 정부 거왔던 돈에서. 그 단자 값서 찾아와는 배 추동에 이나래 의대고 그래. 아니 다 통제도 하려고 정부 당에 내가 의대고 그래. 근데 내가 저도 다 캐좀 쇼체 워스. 단자 값서 다 걸레 멍발라 당저 단자 가서 가가 제목까지 가려서는 우다야 될 칸테 말다 와도나 우다는 초 다 갈레 pollution 레다다 벌써도 숙점 갈레 당한테 우다야 돼 못해 차이인가요 당한테 뭐라 가셔라 CNG 슬로우다 CNG 레 디메나 도토메나 디나 생각도 셀렌데 아주 슈퍼더 콘도라 대상도 파도 되는 슈퍼더 하지 콘나시 롱로사게 돼 옥시젠도 로사게 디네게 데 보더도 충분히 콘도 다데 배저 당에 되는 용 세워라 됐어 나다 된저 의미나 영향이라다 됐어 저 개첨부 쳐버렸어 뭐
That's
근데 되게 개첨부 여 영보여 맞다 이나야 개첨부 셔 나주란 좀
So, so at that time, definitely wealth is something that is not a sort of a very significant component of one's life. At that time, people, when they want to drink clean water, it was available. When they wanted to go to toilet, they can go anywhere they would want to. Everything was readily available. But these days, you can see that the water are sold in bottles. In cities, you see that if you want to use a restroom, you need to pay for it. So therefore, though wealth is without essence, but still in this particular society that we are living, it is a very significant and essential part of it to sustain. But now, Geshe said that now I feel that in future, just like we have the bottle as well as the toilet these days for which we have to pay, it feels like that in future, right now we are breathing without paying. It seems like in future we might also have to pay to breathe because we know the CNG, the gas that we have, which runs the car. It seems that in near future, we would have to buy these small compact mobile oxygen tank. Because of the pollution that's happening, we might have to buy these, and then we might even have to pay for breathing.
됐어 나 당한 저기 농지 다 자벌로 송으로서 고물로 그처럼 논조에도 여바레스 냥고요마레스 그래서 여바 때잖아 배제 단단해 약고 그랬어 딱해서 배제 당하이나 저런 게 아니 야 근조를 주바표가다 망에 손을 짐바탄 그랬어 그래서 근조를 주바표 손을 짐바 약고 땅토바나 때 땅토베 누바 소남 대처럼 게 아니 가와도는 구조예요 그랬어 배처럼 그래서 락달론조 쇼나 타마데처럼 시루되잖아 쿠야요 말스 나치 쿠야요 마사 저랑 소포트 거예요. 그래서 나서 예바 가서 저랑 안에 간 여와도 수도 톱톱지 안에 야 그저를 쳐봐피 망에서는 집에 땅도 봐나 대 손담 누가대 저랑 거나 구조요. 그래서 나 땅땅되는 안데 대간라네 된다. 야 근조를 쳐봐피 봐다 망에서는 짐바다. 내가 남자선도.
So Nagarjuna tells to the king Gautamiputra, since your wealth that you have is without essence, but still this could be something that can become a sort of a facility for you to accumulate merits. And so Nagarjuna tells to the king Gautamiputra, says, whatever wealth you have now while you're alive, you can use it so that you can accumulate merits. This is to offer your wealth to the three gems, and then to use it to help the people who are poor and are in need. And if you practice this practice of generosity, the wealth that you have, which is without any essence, can become a great facility for you to accumulate merits. He said that, O King Gautamiputra, when you die, none of this wealth that you have, you can take with you. None of the things that you have, the wealth that you have now, you can take none of these with you. And not even that, forget about the wealth. The very body that you think that is yours, you cannot even take that with you. But there is something that you can take, and that is the merit that you can accumulate by offering to the three gems and giving to the poor. This merit you can take with you even when you die, and no one can steal that merit from you.
당한 저게 교과사바이나 소남대도 제발지마서 쿠에스 요르사 최도는 시보다 최도는 몇시 남자 준다는 것도 시단 시바이나 개세 안에 저런 게 시행나 편도다 아니 승우요가데 방면론 좀 맞아가지 아니 요베티네 밭 시오요도 시행나 통종다 아니 저도는 nhập 주시 어디네 그 뽑을때 누가 되네 여러 누가 되네 근데 제발나 소소소남 냠바나 칼리칼리 소소 전혀 저도 먼저 저도 소소나 저랑 칼리칼리 세쪽도 그냥 강한 추이 있는 거였어 근데 가에서나 소소게 중대바도 먹었지 아니 에디 잡로라 디요르다 소소 레다 세지 요르다 같이 개만했나 되게 누가도 저도나 그런 게 냠들구나 내가 좀 한번 통해요 근데 지도나 그래서 안에 요베인데 안에 제나 통존다 nhập 주시다 제포치 방면론 좀 맞아가지 근데 소속에다 중나 강 진바땅도 야고레스 다 진바땅세 그냥 가셔 고갈렘 진바기 변시에 막 가서냐 엄마들 권유요 진바땅도 상고랑 바땅 됩니다 소소 방고찬 아니 줄라고 다 진바세데 야고민도스 되게 냠려차는 거 방고차소스 근데 지지자도 어디에 중에서 권유요 데나다 람니데 야보 말라이나데 야나 닝게데 야보 녀마셔 봐야 진바땅서 소소 카투브제다 소소 되네 가자이라 고민자였나 되네 직당도네 되고 직당면 직 차가 당도 되고 상마땅 거요 가르투버지 당소다. 제가 선바상배톤.
So therefore, this particular thing that Geshe said, which is that this merit that you can also take to the next life, this is through the religious perspective, the perspective of dharma. When we talk in the more conventional or the worldly sense, if you help someone, if you're providing someone with help, if you are helping someone, be it with your wealth or something, you see that it brings great joy and happiness. And on the contrary, if you use that wealth to oppress, to suppress someone, to look down on someone, one may or may not believe it, but everything that is the accumulation of wealth that you have right now, it is because of the merits that you have already accumulated, maybe in this life or many lifetimes ago. And so these merits decline with time, especially when you do something unwholesome. These merits decline with time. And then there are many instances where you see like, oh, this person was a billionaire a few years ago, and now this person is homeless. Why? Because they have done so much unwholesome deed that their merits have been exhausted. And so, in order to use this wealth that you have in a wholesome way, is to do the practice of generosity, to give. But then one should be also very careful when they talk about generosity. So there are some instances in Western countries where Geshe-la has heard that people, when they do the practice of generosity, they give everything that they have and leave with nothing. And then afterward, they would curse. They would say that by the practice of generosity, I have become a beggar. So in this case, maybe the one who was explaining it might not have been explaining it correctly, or the one that is comprehending it was not comprehending it correctly. When we talk about generosity, it should be to one's own ability, just as much as you can do. It doesn't mean that you give everything. It means that just as much as you are willing to give. And so if, for example, if you have 100 rupees, even if you want to give just a 50 cent out of it, if you want to give 1 rupee out of it, you can give the one rupee. But that particular action of generosity that you're doing towards someone, it should be done with the pure intention of benefiting them, not to look down upon the one that you are giving. You should give it respectfully. It doesn't matter if you're just giving 1 rupees.
맞다. 다든다 계속 거든데 때 매와이나 소소게다 남주야 보시대. 아니 뭐라면 돼야지. 더 류고는 남주야 보대. 그 협체. 어딘데 직 제와이나야 소소라 소나 납쳐서. 버줘야 돼 컨트롤랑. 다 배가 때때들 남상거라 배가라 칸에 직접. 아니 소소 컨트롤라. 인데 제와이나 네 디바 니자사. 소소 딘데 개발사에 고압질 하는데 고압도 털었다. 네 고압도 잡라. 디바사에 조사. 다들 그 좋아서 때문에 남주 약을 때 몰람 약을 때 어떤데 구십시는 도잖아요. 손남 살에 맞아 이때네 어 고압대 털었다요 말스.
So even if you don't have anything to give to the person, what you can do is that you can just smile or show a good expression to that person and then pray for that person. Even if you just pray for that person, it has a great merit. It has an unimaginable amount of merit. If you are doing the practice of generosity, someone is asking you for something and then you are giving them something, but then you have a very sort of a dark emotion, when you have a very dark face and then you're becoming very angry, your face is like with anger, and then you're giving it in a way which is very disrespectful, and you also say some hurtful things to that person, then even though that practice is virtuous, wholesome, but the way you did it is unwholesome and it becomes the cause of a sin or unwholesome deed. So therefore, even if you don't have anything to give to someone, you can simply show them a good emotion, smile at them, and then pray for them, saying that may they be liberated from the situation that they are in current time.
당보 데데 제다 식제 된다게 기부 된다 도모 받는 니와시도 식제 니와데 탑에 탈람제 잡아 주림날 랩스를 납다데 나데 가서는 최제 주림 뭐냐 메메다스 마트레 마바 어다 템바체스 팀리 주다 민주 사신도 현대 군지 시대는 라버송스 어딘데 간에 식제직 타벨람제 잡아 주버레스 근데 잡아 주려네 기부 된다 당보데 아니 먼저 여반이 뭐 멤버직송 니와데는 안에 타벨람제 잡아 주스 다 당보데 도도잖아 거와 핀도는 맞아 버려 버렸어 야부저랑 아니 타벨람제 잡아 주버레스 니바데 근데 또
So the second practice, which talks about the establishment, the foundation of liberation, which is the morality. So Nagarjuna says, you should practice morality, which is unimpaired, blameless, not mixed and unsullied. For morality is said to be the foundation of all virtues, just as the earth is the support of both the moving and the unmoving. So here, Nagarjuna is talking about the second practice for the intermediate practitioner. The first practice is to have non-attachment to the materialistic and materialistic consumption and the fortune and wealth, and to see that all of these are without any essence. And the second practice is to establish the foundation of virtue or foundation of liberation. And this very foundation of liberation is the practice of morality.
저는 다 네가서 수림스다 수림대 안에 데레서다 사실은 사실 산나시래서 다 간도 사가나 뜬도다 다 지신의 카레 개와나데 시대라고 싹한 차고로 그래서 트림도 개점 보시오스 다 트림데 룡아 예수님제 안에 트림데 야보 매와이나 대가나 안에 원래 중주르게 안에 남래신 받은 저 영사요 말스 그래서 룡아 예수님제다 좁아대 야보 쉬워지고 그랬어 대 매정아이나 저런 게 안에 윤대신 받은 남래신 받은 저 영사요 말에 그래서 트림세 대 개점 보시오 그랬어 산나시레스 세간의 지신다 땅아서 세동에 정말 세가를 제대로 그랬어 대도 장마 싸데 매와네 장마 안에 근데 그 저부터 용사야 말아 어때는 이제 냠레시 뭐 탐자기 시대인데 어때 안 수름 레수 수름 스카이즈 마시고
So, morality, or in this case, discipline, is being used here. The analogy of discipline is given here by Nagarjuna as earth or the soil. So we see that everything that sustains us, everything on which we are living, is born from the soil. The plant, the crops, or everything that we eat is born from the soil. If the soil itself is not fertile, it doesn't have the nutrition, nothing good can grow from it. Similarly, if we don't have a good discipline of our body, speech, and mind, then there is no foundation of any virtue. There is no way that enlightenment and liberation could come out if we don't have good discipline of our body, mind, and speech. And so Nagarjuna here gives this example as soil or earth, telling us that just like a fertile soil that gives us good crop or harvest, similarly, disciplined body and mind and speech is the foundation of building up virtue and merits for liberation.
그래서 나 수림들은 지난 디 방법이 몇개 주변 수는 다니 공부 쉬운 봐 디요 나는 생각에 심재신 되셔거든 대한 수림 저스 심재 된적 수림 써 개와 최대 수림 써네 소저 개와 내 컨텐츠 써봐는 대한 수림 사도 저당 수림 다 된다나가 당한저 내 당보 봐라 아니 수림 되다 룡아 예수께 주바대 약보 담고 때 백해 좀 붙여 아니 디 당한저 내 당보 봐라 배잖아 가서서나 this 남지 차트다 전면은 매만 내절로 좀 봐도 다 내가 용아 this 고숨 동거다 고숨 동거더라 용아 예수님 고숨 동면서지 다디 용아 예수님 당아서 중사 예바 중사이나 최도나 세바는 이믹 중사서 다 최도나 많이 받지당 시험이나 강가서 뭐 중사대 용아 예수님 고대 고숨대 약보 맞다며 고숨도 좁아대 약보 맞아야 진지 아주 강한 뭐 제가 태고 저 최도나 세바는 아주 커버를 커야 돼 용아 예수님 줘봤더니 야고마송을 진제 다른 거서 커버를 커렸어. 된도 못으니 다른 로데바이나 디레도 도르마다 야르라요 마스. 또단데 용아 예수님 줘봤더 야고 바 담고 해. 어디 강장 개체 버렸어.
So, when we talk about morality or discipline, like we already talked, there is the 10 percept. There are the discipline pertaining the altruistic mind or benefiting others. There's the discipline or morality that pertains to the accomplishment of virtuous actions. And so one should always have a sort of a tight grip on the actions of the body, speech, and mind. That the discipline of the body, speech, and mind, and more importantly, the commitments and the sort of restriction on the three gates. So we in Buddhism, we call the body, speech, and mind as the three gates because it's the three gates of action. So therefore, one should tighten the grip, or one should be very much strict with these three gates. And it is said that in Buddhism, it says that the very cause that why we are coming again and again in the cyclic existence of samsara is because we are letting these three gates, we are not tightening it, we're letting it loose, we're not looking after it. And so because of it, we're engaging in actions which are not bound by the vows or discipline. And so we're coming again and again in this existence. So it's very important to have vows or to tighten or be strict upon these three gates.
데제 단단히 대안에 기부된 다 도모면 남녀는 뭐 도르트 받으세. 다 담았던다 디 제바지도 제바. 다 제바데 다 디레다. 기부 침배 남녀는 뭐 도르트 봐. 기부 침배 남녀는 남녀는 뭐 도르트 받으래. 다 진다 출연 수도 3대다. 대신 시럽 샤메 바로 진세. 디다 제제. 시베 자조이 바로 진바 제배 방법 조스. 다디 시제 제바데게 다 가르친 것은 기부 침배 남녀는 봐. 다들 퍼진 촉쇼
So these two, that is the practice of generosity and the practice of morality, are the two practice of the intermediate practitioner in a very brief manner. And so now talking about the common path practice of the great practitioner briefly, the first is the practice of the six perfections or the six paramitas. And so Nagarjuna says, increase the measureless perfections of giving, morality, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom, and thus become the Lord of conquerors who has reached the further shore of the ocean of existence. And so in this, the practice of the great practitioner is the six paramitas or the six perfections of Mahayana or the great vehicle.
그래서 나 간도 진바다 출임세 때 대진 기부 중국값을 송달에다 기부 중국다 등 상만 냠슬낸 거래. 그 기부 중국다 등되는 진바다 출임도 있어. 냠내 렐라슈다. 근데 야도나 디스 서바 준도 삼대 시랍스. 그때 상마 데리스 가서 야 세토로 줬어. 그래서 나 안에 진바들 때 계산 다 보는 것도 쉬우더라. 진바들 안에 대진 공도 쉬고 다는 시래 다 뭐게 진바다 요래 다는 신기 아니 치우지 봤다 요래. 아니 쏘지 봤다. 딱히 생각만 납세 다 연결을 하고 제 수렴대 다다 공도 쉬고 나지래. 아니 내가 좀 요래 다나 저게 봐 주도 좀 심제 텐지가 좀 되지 아니 네 아니 소발라도 또 소발대 양게 아장 개좀 맞죠. 수선 제주라. 춘중들 수선 제모도 되나 아니 제보기는 용 말스. 당한 좀 되잖아. 아니 강한 못 채웠어. 강한 못 채워도 된 남산배 소금 주려면 잠시야 돼요 말스. 강한 가서 태워나 대가나 소금제는 니마지가 아니고 그냥 약고 차트었어. 디나네 맞아 저거 되네. 소파세 되네. 콘도 님 붙였다. 콘도 세대 건지 디 다 뉴모 항상 다디 톱침 붙였다 디. 톱침 뭐 남산공도 주적죠. 네가 참 보셔줘. 다 되게 아니 갑대 장게다 님보다는 소파셔. 그래서 나 소파대 하장 되는데 개체 붙였어.
As you can see, the first, which is giving or generosity, and morality, these are the practice of the intermediate practitioner. And in comparison to the other six paramitas or the six perfections, these two practices are much easier. And for giving, we already have discussed in the previous class quite briefly. There's the generosity of materialistic things, where you give generosity, where you give things, materialistic things. The second one is the generosity or giving of knowledge. And the third one is the generosity or giving of protection from suffering. And then we also talk about the morality earlier. And then comes the patience. The patience is the utmost important practice. So patience is important in every practice. So for example, in life, so what patience means is that in life, sometimes there are things that goes according to our wish. Sometimes there are hard times, there are difficulties. And in those times of difficulties, to not give up and to continue to persevere, to continue persevering, that is known as patience. So that it may not be good in the current time, but eventually it will get better. So to have this kind of mind is called the mind of patience. And the other reason why patience is the utmost important practice is because it is the antidote of anger and aggression. So if you practice patience, if you have a great deal of patience, you are able to block or you're able to avoid becoming angry. So therefore, the practice of patience is very important.
순간 언제 남편한테 시험했나? 녀몽을 맨달에 녀보 맨달 열었어. 다 수백 그 콘도 녀보를 섭하시고서. 다 진짜 콘도도 하장게 님이 좀 보시고서. 아니 최도나서는 님이 좀 보. 딱 배나 콘도 님이 시험 가서 근데 그와 가와 자 동다 먹고 사배 그바대 콘도까지 지금 좀 그랬었다. 배잖아 먹고 숨었어. 다 최도나 마시와는 남샤 준다 거 저게 내려 처배도로 찾아와나. 콘도 라인나 소스 속보가 나오게. the immune systems tema tolos te ka immune system de ka te choro ta nego malasa la pega to na nego malate jo chaus nego malate jo yang sa cha de na kale la na so so la 나자다 내가 나의 고쳐 가서 나자까 두고 말 나자간 게 내고 말ati 가도되네 실론에 쇼진 대도된 남상 대수 속속쪽 가서는 대수나 소소 소보대 돌았다 도도시나 소소 소보대 안에 콘로데 돌았다 소소 소보대 쪼잖아 안에 소소 가래나 제도 소소 메데나로 안에 레가나 제도 말에 롭존나 제도 말에 가서는 언저게 세대라 안에 속쟁이 강사님 벌써다 가다 가르쳐 봐야 날에 내가 제 날에 롭존 제나 신념내 제나 가서는 소보대 때는 제거라 그래서 소보대 매와이나 가야가 제도 그래서 나 콘로데 소바 코메데 화장게다 최대된 가르쳐는 제나 항상 여기다 개체 붙여 버렸어.
So, according to the Dharma or Buddhism, the patience is a great practice, and the opposite of which is aggression and anger, is a very sinful act. And to portray this, it is said, so it's said in the, it is said that the merits that you have accumulated in hundreds and thousands of eons will perish by a momentary action of anger. If your anger, even for one moment, or the aggression or anger just for a single moment, this action will destroy or perish the merits that you have accumulated for hundreds and thousands of eons. So this is how sinful the action of anger is. And the other thing, if we don't talk about the sort of the cons of being angry in terms of religion, a person, when they are very angry, what happens is that their body's immune system gets compromised. It becomes weaker, weaker, and weaker. And then when their body's immune system is prone, it becomes weaker or compromised, their body is prone to getting sick easier. And therefore, if our body gets sick easier, there is no way that we can do anything, even for ourselves and others. And since every one of us, that is human beings, since we are all beings with a physical form, we have to depend on it to a certain degree. And so if this body perishes, then there is no accomplishment of anything. Leave out for others, there is no accomplishment for self also. So therefore, the practice of patience is very important so that one can counter or one can use it as an antidote towards the anger. And in Buddhism, it is said that each affliction has an antidote. And so here, the affliction of anger, the antidote of which is the patience.
아, 저기 콘로스 이미 좀 쉬워랬어. 나한테 소바 공부를 해라. 또 가내서 공부를 했어. 콘로스에 소바 공부를 내려고 맞다대. 배 각보였다대. 내려고 검초죠. 가내 예도 당한테 내려고 시작해서 소바 공부를 해라. 다 소저가는 것도 중앙 가서대. 내려고 남자 검초죠 되네 요 말스. 다다 가내쳐 버려. 다 답랑 가야랬어. 어디에 집어지라.
So, the console church time, right?
아니,
So when we say we must practice patience, it's very easy to say because it's just saying. But when we go and practice, it's a very difficult thing. So Geshe is asking, how do we practice patience? Geshe is asking everyone, whoever wants to answer.
takamido ane mixa lenja gamena khaimido tanga soba kombe kaso ta tangbo kora korpet makom masa ta kora soba kongore lota soba kombe kaso kono landa chang kaso o ta kono landa to siba kaso so ge tenshi payote o kono sete nyanga chaba shiwaje
Ale,
des no
let's try to keep calm, reflective. Ale, adile khashe kyasha keshla.
ajade ale mon so
Tila tu nga tsaki nga tso lo chi tuwa nga tsoi. Ti nga tsoi lingja shaya chi yora shide shaya di chik chaswa. Nipa di kalas la na nga tsaki tsua numbu dende lege tuwa. Shedang da dende ki tsua numbu le tu. Dedu nga tsoi kanya ma chi chi deye chi yora nga tsoi sa chi chi. Dedu nga tsoi kanya ma chin deye chi. Lega ta di kenpe nga tsoi ki chi chawa chi chi yora. 그래서 정에는 마치 사제질 때때지라 되게 소는부기 시원도 마송을 하셔
나도 노래 어디 탑람을 했던 이게 다 탑람 네 망보셔라 지다 자세 탑람이나 다 가좀 되죠라 가좀 돼 잠땡이 되지 되고 되게 양폭을한테 팽하고죠 그 자세지다 되죠 자세 사자 신발 도셔나 데스 코스템심도 샤그 이나 대담제 네 급도 못 하겠다 폭이 양을 가보죠 폭 저도들한테 가르쳐서 콘도세데 콘도님이 그냥 생각했습니다 생각했습니다 이제 근데 콘도 사다 집에 가서 독선 제시다 다시 봐야 돼 다 콘도 세들라게도 되는 배는 가서 보시오레스 그래서 나 전부나 삽삽쳐봐이나 디스 아니 콘도 마사이 쳐봐 사나들의 숙지 못되는 마사이 쳐봐 쇼 다 데이터 왔지 야세 쳐봐이나 칼레 소파디 top dia jeros so bat top dran sing shuk chamba chamba na konso ran ran ma chung ta ta na ganzo la ka ta konde ge ngazo so de chigos kaso da ma ne yung sa ta kale ka kom so bat shuk kom so bat de top de chamba chana ane ganzo ka pa kondo pa de che do ma dang de che do ta na ganzo kondo dang de che do ma ta de so bat de komya de ta ya세 komden kale kondo top de ma nyam do 그러나 사워지다 당번이 또에나 갈래갈래라 카르톱체나 사워되게 안에 당번 사워톱체나 당번에 갈래갈래 냠네 정말 사워자도 그러나 추 사워 망하지다 당번 용하지 될 당이나 추디 당번 때 찾아가서 추 당번 사워도 보통 그래 가서는 사워되 톱되 당번 톱대 봐 세진에 만나시 친구들 대 요만나시 나섬도 되나지 요르스
so uh these two the two suggestions that was made, yes, definitely these are a method to control the anger. And one such method is to isolate oneself when one is becoming very angry, so that they might not do something in the influence of that anger. But that particular practice of isolating oneself when they become angry is a temporary sort of solution to this. So the actual solution when we talk about is to recall the negative effects of anger. And this should be done before one becomes angry, not when one is already under the influence of anger. No, when one is almost getting angry. So when they are getting angry, almost getting angry, so what they should do is that before they're getting angry, they should recall the negative effects of, or the negative consequences of becoming angry, to think what it might do if I go in influence of this, under the influence of anger, and to think again and again in those situations, to think about the negative influence of the anger. And as we do this, eventually, this leads to the development of patience within us. And when we have developed a very strong patience within us, even though there are things that are making us angry, we no longer get angry. We no longer get influenced by anger. Currently, most of us cannot control anger. It is out of control. It is not something that we can control and then we can calmly control over it. For example, like if we have cold water and hot water in a glass, if the hot water is more dominant, or if the heat is more dominant than the cold, we'll see that even though there is cold water in this glass, when you drink it, you'll feel that the water is warm. This is because the heat is more dominant. So if this is true for physical things, that the more dominant thing overpowers the one which is less dominant, or which is more recessive, then it is also true for the mind. If your mind of patience is more stronger than your mind of anger, then when you are getting angry, when you might get angry, because of the power of the patience, it dominates over your mind of anger, and you no longer get angry. 아니 계실라 지기 렌지 갸도아 칼라둘란 딜라도 저기 단다 디테지로 저기 쇠베기 저 페인트지로 디 포기하는 불랑 저기 펜도 요레스라도
괜찮아
so Geshe said that this answer, which is remembering patience, give more benefits in the long term, is exactly the truth, or it is exactly it.
그래서 나 콘도란 되잖아. 지난 소바 거면 가서 나만도 수지 공부했다. 소바 거면 꽃나만 먼저 먹고 싶어졌어. 그러나 소바 콘도란 가서 콘도란게 돼 요데 땅 아주 남제 배자 가라 시잖아. 미줄을 쪽바 쉬어봐이나. 쪽바 쉬어봐나 속제라. 속제가 된게 콘도란 소. 다 콘도데 뭐서 쪽바데 휴사 수요를 써봐이나. 다 미들 중계 미들 콘도란 거라. 그거 안에 쪽바 쉬어서. 하나 미들게 하나 직접 쉬어서. 하나 직접 쉬어서 뭐다 좀 대시에 콘도란 거라. 대신에 콘도 랑게지 매와이나 콘도 랑게 말아. 어때서 콘도 랑게 되게 초진에 소소 삼로단에 강존의 콘도 랑게 됩니다. 같이 하고 와서는 소소 콘도 라인에 소소 넣으러. 그저때 강 그런 강가 매와이나 소소게 고마져 봐서는 다티 콘도 직치도 소소 콘도 라인에 소소 랑게 넣으러 봐도 표저도 넣으러 차요. 어떤 하고 있지 직치. 근데 이제부터 나타나지 죽발을 빼잖아. 다 미들 죽바시는 콘도 라인에 근데 미들 콘도 사라. 미들 콘도 가서는 그거 하나 죽바시스라. 죽바시는 속 잡서라. 속 장gan 거 맞대 죽바도 쉬라. 죽바도 쓰라. 죽바도 컨트롤한 거 말아. 미들 컨트롤한 거. 엄마한테 죽바도 컨트롤한 거. 가서는 그래서 독에도 죽바도 쉬어. 죽바도 또 속jar. 다 텐데에는 다 미들 쉬라. 미들 쉬면서 라와야 그 셈나로게. 아니 코로나 배저도 컨트롤한 거 쉬바이나. 다 미들 쉬서 거 맞대. 그저 컨트롤 사바는 미들 컨트롤 사야. 미들 주지. 다 아니 시에다나 속바. 컨트롤 서 대왕 쉬바이나. 딜라 컨트롤 사거랬어. 딜라 가지고 컨트롤 사겁니다. 사상 엄마 중사도 쪼버데 좀 미숑게 되게 하네 나로게 하네 얘네 컨트롤 방 쉬어한다 컨트롤 될 사고 됐어 미들 사고도 됐어 엄마 전에 다 빼게 사고 미들 컨트롤 될 사고 맞아 미들 사야
So there are many methods of practicing patience. And one such method in the text is said that, so imagine that someone beats you with or someone hits you with a stick. And then we become angry. We become angry because when someone hits us, there is pain. And we become angry because of this pain. But then we must also think, why did this person hit me? Sometimes some people, because we must know that if we are getting angry, there is someone making us angry. But then we must also think about the intention of the person that's making us angry. Sometimes they're doing it out of ignorance. They don't know. They may think that they're playing with you. They don't know that they're making you angry. But then it is you who thinks in a certain way that makes you angry. And then if we think about this, if we think that someone is hitting us with a stick, and then there is a pain, why are we angry? We are angry because of the pain. But the one that is making you feel the pain is not the person, it is the stick. So why are you not angry at the stick? Why are you angry with the person? Because the one that is touching you and making you feel pain is not the person, but the stick. Similarly, one should understand that the person that is hitting you currently may not be in their right mind. They may be influenced by their hatred, a sort of negative emotion that is inside them. And because of that negative emotion inside them, they're doing the action of hitting you. Then normally we just get angry at the person. Why are we not getting angry at the negative mind which is making them do it? The one that is telling them to do it is that mind, that negative mind. So in reality, if we follow the logic, the one that is actually making them do this is either their hatred or their anger or some negative mind. So in reality, we should not be angry at the person. We should not be angry at the person. We should be angry at the negative mind.
어때서 나 지난 게 소박 대 고민에 하장 게 개체물에 깔락하고 싶었어. 내가 말해 소박 고민. 다 소박 건데 탑에 약간 소박 고민 콘도님의 콘도에 왔어요. 약속도 소박 고민. 소배 안에 편이었다. 안에 소박 양스 편이 삼바 맞아요. 소저 콘도랑 아직 중학교서다 소박 고. 콘도랑 게 준에 맨날 소박 검사게 돼. 거가 병만. 다 최고마다 노정도는 거 마셔와나 콘도랑 게 됐다 뺐다거나 개체물 그런 좀 보시면서 소배냠네 제일 안에 대가런데는 소배냠네 쇼스. 때 매와이나 담대 이제 강가지 요라시 그게 매와이나 소박 고미하게 거가 배워 말스. 자 삼부 당다 직도는 저 어디 코로나 스티지 가서 빠지고 내려서 소바티게 아니 고메 겨바텐데 라야데 코카트네 미디나 딱수이나 데가렌데네 내가 총송 따데고는 코로나 게 내가 쉬 냠내잖아 장그 같은 점 보셔 섬야게 근데 삼로데 축처처럼 따가 있나 소바 고면라 아니 가난래
So the practice of patience is a practice that is not an easy one. It's a very difficult practice. And we must understand that if there is no one making you angry, then you cannot be angry. You should understand that if there is no one that is actually making you angry, there is, if you're in a very isolated place where there is no one but yourself and no one is making you angry, then you won't be angry. And if there is no anger, there is no practice of patience. And so to develop patience, first one should experience anger. And then after experiencing anger, they can develop patience. So in the text which pertains to the mind training, it is said that the one who makes you angry is your greatest teacher, because they're giving you the opportunity to practice patience. So therefore, if you must think that, oh, I'm so blessed today because I have someone that is making me angry. Now I will use this opportunity to develop patience. And if you think about this again and again, you will feel joyfulness. When you look at that person that is making you angry, there will be joyfulness in your mind. And then there will be a great patience that develops in your mind. And if you do this again and again, the practice of patience, instead of being difficult, it will be a practice of joyfulness.
뭔데지 다 안에 소바지 네 되게 소바 검도와나 소소가나 소바나 팽게레스 최도는 세와나 개발랍 첨부셨어 그래서 소소 개발다 카테 랍세와 소남들하시 야 페도요나 소소 룰은 영화 안에 쌈들 드벨라 쳐바시고스 그래서 건도시고 소남들 미 쌈만 남자 드럽스 배잖아 소 가서는 메디 그 소남들 카테 치모 소남 랍세 보이나 그 시다시다 깔라 맞잖다 도된 것이었다 내가 가서 통도 가세 깔라셔 남자 가요 해매지 가시라 저런 맞잖아 그런 거 득동 그래 있어 자 가서는데 지단게 메다 찍는다나 보고를 열었다 메다 찍는다나 좀 보고 해나냐 중사대 찍네 중공 찍으래 안에 럽럽어서 찍도래데 찍라 싶었다 거 쉬어도 그렇지 쉬어채나 가시라 마요 찍시라 그렇지 막거나 그러나시 이게 용되고 저다 주변조에 나래 다소서 담는다 옛날에 가라이나 상마 또 찍된 거죠 그 가서나다 실로 그 차지에서는 찍봐요 그렇군요 찍던데 좀찍 중요한 말 가시라 줘서나 딱 아주 너무데 아니 소남들 왕 소남 생각만 다 디레스하고 소남지 젠제 그런 게 소남 demba mi sama namja tubna je sunam ko wangi ko ran jing kar sama na jing to lu lu yong de yorata tenga so yorat
So even if we talk about the practice of the benefits of practice of patience, irrespective of a religious practice, the one who has great patience, their body is also very healthy. They are also very healthy mentally and physically. And if we talk about patience in the perspective of religion, in in text, it is said there's the meritorious person's aspirations are fulfilled spontaneously. So it means that those who are meritorious, because of the practice of patience, one accumulates countless, immeasurable merits, and they become a meritorious person, one who have great merits. And those who have great merits, all of their aspirations are fulfilled without any obstacles. It fulfills spontaneously. And for example, this is very apparent in our day-to-day life. We see some people who are doing a lot, who are working a lot in their life, but they don't have a sort of luck or we can say that they don't have great achievements, even though they work so hard. For example, even in one family, we see that there are two children. One child, even though they may not be doing a great deal of hard work, but they gain a lot of success in their life. As other child may, even though they're working each day very hard, they persevere every day, but they may not be attaining a great deal of achievement. Why is that like this? The external facilities, the facilities provided by the parents, both the children were sent to the same school. They had same teachers, same facilities. Why are the outcome different? It is because the child that is having greater achievement and fulfillment is a child that has greater merits. And the child that does not have it is the one that doesn't have that much merits. So therefore, the practice of patience is such a great significant practice. Because of this, there is achievement of great merits. And just like it is said in the text, the meritorious or the person with great merits, their aspirations are fulfilled spontaneously without obstacles.
그래서 나 어제 빼잖아. 아니 시단 대비 띠ቋ 있어. 서포 대비 것도 있어. 나 대전에서 내가 뺐다가 이제 서포 내신에 다 것도 생각에 다 냠내 요 말았어. 다 시단 내신에 다 띠ቋ 섭섭 요 말았어. 그래서 나다 콘도스 띠 서포 세대 가자 캐치 뭐 이거 세워 싶어도
So in the text, so this is from the text Madhyamika Avatara, in which Chandrakirti says, this is from the Bodhisattvacharya Avatara, in which Shanti Deva says that there is no greater sin than the sin of being angry, and there is no greater practice or more greater hardship than the practice of patience. And so by this practice of patience, you can just by these two lines, you can see that the practice of patience is one of the greatest practice.
근데 이제 다 서버제 안에 준비 생각하잖아. 아니 개별 잡아라 좀 봐야 되겠다. 준비에서부터 같이 준다네. 짐바 수림 서버 준비스. 아니 개별 잡아라 좀 아니 쌤들라 준비스. 아니 다 개발아 제직백에 삼로들라 아니 삼댄스. 아니 다드네 시랍 때 다지다 데 양답하다 렉바라 넘버 집에 로텔 삼로들라 아니 시랍스부터 독도로 시나 되죠.
And now the effort or perseverance is the action which is focused towards the virtuous or wholesome action. Concentration is the focus or single pointed focus towards of the mind towards the action of the virtuous action. And wisdom is the mind that is able to differentiate, which is able to thoroughly differentiate between the truth and the falsity of the nature of things.
당한테 준비다 좀 봐서 양 가셔야 투이니. 준비에서는 딱 개발쳐 버렸어. 좀 봐서 배전 셔야들라니 얘가 배전 셔야래. 누가 배전 셔야지. 준비에서는 당한 저기 준비에서 대 지단 내가 개발 잡아라 좀 되게 좀 받으라니 준비세. 또뒤 아니 다 파진도는 셔와나 다디 아니 딘데게 세토버치. 다 패진 산지에서 셔와나 산지가 값서 한테 디 준비 바로 치 봤어. 같이 어떤 셔스.
So one should always differentiate between effort in the sense of the sixth perfection and the effort in the mundane or daily life. Because one can put effort in both virtuous and non-virtuous action. One can do a great hard work to do something which is not virtuous. But here, when we talk about effort, we talk about perseverance or working hard towards a virtuous action. And this particular practice of effort can go to such length that when someone becomes enlightened, it is said that it is said to gain full proficiency or mastery over the practice of effort.
근데 전에 네 someday 바로 좀 봤어요. 다 띵이더니 someday 좀 띵이더니 그다음에 다 디아바시바나 다 망고시에서라 도도시바나 삼로디 세지고 내대 버저라 딘데가 빠지들라 someday 다 딘데가 someday 진반에 someday 중요해 가르쳐서는 다 저거 시럽집에 주도 송이로다 두배 일라데 다 탐전에 두배 시럽트는 송송 다 준비되게 파르치 뭐 트럭송이 수녀들 가르쳐서 나타 타마 시라지 퍼진 일라 주도 송레스 시라 퍼진 세바데 저거세 심바도 일라레스 어디에서는 다 시럽세데 다 타마들 왔다디 내 항상 다 캐치 뭐 어디에 없어
So concentration, which refers to the single-pointed mind, or a meditative absorption or single-pointed mind to be focused on a single point. So now when we talk about a practice like generosity, morality, patience, effort, concentration, Buddha said that these are all component practice. These are all practice which ultimately leads to the arising of wisdom. So these five, the first five paramitas or the first five perfections are the practice which are done with the intention to arise the perfection of wisdom. And so Buddha says that perfection of wisdom is the core. And all of the other five are the peripheral or the component practice, which leads to the arising of perfect wisdom.
그래서 다 시랍 세대 계속 뭐 저도 되는 시랍 매바 바로 믹메어 찍거든. 미치기나 시랍 매나 믹메어 찍거든 있었다. 그래서 난데 안에 시랍 세대는 계속 많이 가르쳐 내렸어. 내가 되버지 되고 있어. 시랍 세대 좀 되게 먹어서 빼자 먹고 물로 좀 다나 신게 안에 신대 때 봐. 전적에서 가사가라 쏜다. 믹 시랍 세대 매바나 믹메어 찍거든. 미치기나 믹메어 찍거든. 가르쳐 내렸어. 시랍 세대 계속 같이 적었어.
So the wisdom is just like the eye to a person. A practice without wisdom is like a person without eye. And so the great practitioners like Nagarjuna and Shantideva in their text have referred or made the analogy of wisdom as the eye, the one that sees. So Geshe is asking the question, why do you think wisdom is important?
이제 주변에 레면은 좀 들어. 다 시랍세디 가르치는 개념 적어서는 당어좀 믹메바 미지 믹메바이나 당어도 간에 자살 삼다한다 믹좀 믹메나 가가도 말아 랑가 야가도 렌더
Geshe nenchilesro.
렌노스
Koran karsungutlana sherab shebatinga cheki chi dagaran reshanga so navigate la chinga cheki chi sacho kawaji la ina didi kawatu didi chal sacha di kawatu sacha phage kawatu chala di kawatu la chinga cheki twenken dina shires mitik neta sacha
다가라네
twenken yora no
아네 다 다가라네 디 덴데 다가라네 답변나 믹메바이나 가도 거드네 랑가 키에도 더 연도 네 랑가도 양연메 추연메 더 거드 년가 가연 하고 말아 믹좀네 도샤와이나 그래서 나 당한적에 랭년 넘버 쳐 양다보다 양다보 많이 배게 레권 넘버 쳐발라 당가 최냠내 쳐 최냠내 쳐발라 재단신 거라 재단시야라니 양다보 많이 배게 로지 매바이나 먼저 냠내 주네 양다보 제동 말 그래서 다네 시럽 세티페트 랭년 넘버 쳐발라 아니 초도 줘버렸어 그래서 다네 양다보다 레권 넘버 쳐배게 아니 로데라 시럽 써 그래서 나 계속 붙여버렸어
so yes this answer is correct. So just like the eye, the wisdom tells us, like the eye helps us see which is the left, which is the right, where should we go. Similarly, wisdom gives direction to the practice in such way that it helps us to discern between which is virtuous, which is non-virtuous, which is to be adopted, which is to be denounced. And so with this particular ability of discernment, we're able to take up the practice which we need to take. We are able to abandon the practice which does not benefit us. And the thing that helps us to discern or to distinguish between these things is the wisdom, which acts like the eye.
다시 당기다 최근에 시와이나다 시랍데이 가서나 디리스 디 마릭베 냠버 적었어 ignorance 라라 마릭베데 가서나 먼저 다 강하다 중사 가장 다 중대바 정말 당가 좀 메제데 라인나라다 그때나다 가 정말 중사 중공 쪽에 근데 마릭베 찾았어 그다음 마릭베데 매바 송게다 잘라다 마서나 다 님버스나 마서나 찍마다 대수에서 시럽적으로 대수상 가져겠다 그제 상계와 이날에 타바토고 이나 가르쳐 이나 다티 주도는 셔 이나 다 시럽세티기 에 맨날 매중 거래 다 저거데 시상계와 이날에 타바토와 이나 가서나티 저비엘라 고제 바자 송게 줘라 그 매가 쏘라 바자 매가 송게다 춘자다 마서나 다티 시럽적으로
The wisdom in the text it is said that wisdom is the antidote of ignorance, and ignorance is the origin of all suffering. All suffering that we experience in our life is due to our ignorance, and one thing that is able to dispel this ignorance is the wisdom. And so, even though if you may want to achieve enlightenment or you want to achieve liberation, the one thing that is standing between that as an obstacle, which is ignorance, there's only one thing that is able to break through this obstacle. And that particular thing that is able to break through this obstacle is the wisdom.
그래서 당한 저게 지단계 최도는 마셔와이나 당한 저게 내가 치워이나요. 내가 때 간다 치워버렸어. 신고로. 다 럽정 변화 단당한 데 때문에니까나 럽다 망고 쉬워서 럽다다 꼴레지다 속 망고 쉬었다 줄라 럽다서. 저저 가르쳐야 쳐도 좋았나? 밑에 럽정 돼 주더라. 밑에 시랍대 공도 해 주도. 시랍대 공도 해 봤더니 대 시랍대 펴줬다네. 이제 때인데 가나 소속에다 아니 가렌나 가셔야 뱉고 정말 저 가셔야 뱉고 우리 좀 보시고 저 가셔야 냠냠 버셔 다 갔다 가서 상마 차야 돼 가서는 시행이 되게 잡다. 가셔야 남로 좀 제가 되는 망체직다. 시행도 돈을 또 되고라. 타고 단대 가서 하는 라프라데 템베 시행에서 어떻게 될까 라이트도 되게 되면은 내가라고. 내가 맨날 당근네. 아니 그러면은 사야도 돼 가고 저거. 자 가서 조사대 가서 나타 시랍대 개지 뭐 임바디 라프라 등사 그저 넘냐 강처도 개지 뭐 제가 가서는 쓰고 오라 쓰고 이제 가서는 시에데 시랍대 야 배고 어때서 나다 진짜 돈에 지단 최도는 몇이 와 있나 가지고 세워하고 시랍세 개지 뭐 가자
So, this the previous one was an example through the perspective of religious practice, and we don't even have to look in the religious perspective to know that wisdom is very significant. If we look in our daily life, we see that these days people they pursue education, they go to schools, study, they learn, and then after a certain time, they go to a higher education, they do specialization, and then they get a degree. And in these days and time, if you don't have a degree, you don't have a job. If you don't have a job, you cannot sustain. And so even through that perspective, we see that to have an education is very important. And where does this education stem from? It stems from the wisdom. So therefore, even if we look at our day-to-day life, we see that education or wisdom is very important, even for our sustenance.
되제다 진정한 저기 대 지부 신별 남녀는 말 바로 좀 쪽서다 대 또도선 시에라 다ten도 간라마 지부 된다 충고다 아니 된 제부 냠 신들 냠내 주다한테 다나 또또 좀 시에라 다 야와는 마신다 막 그래 말래 병 그랬어 어디제 아니 다 되는 바제 저저에 가로 저도 이스라엘네 저저 정말 아니 지부 중국 남녀는 봐 잡아셔 주라 만 반대는 트레인스 아니 제가
Uh,
되는 나 되는 되겠어
so this is a brief presentation on the common path practice of the great practitioner. And then we also talked briefly about the common path practice of the small practitioner and the intermediate practitioner. So we have just discussed it briefly, and now as we will continue this text, these practices will be more elaborated. As we go on with this text, there will be more elaboration on each of these practices. And so, because of the time, we will leave it here for today. And those who have and for next class, we will talk about the counsel principally for lay person or layman. And so if you have any questions, please ask away.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I was just wondering when we were talking about patience being an antidote to anger, is it like sometimes anger is a very strong emotion? Sometimes when you feel anger, is it sometimes okay to replace it by sadness? Is that more, I think, better emotion, healthier for your body and mind? So that's my question.
Lasso, kalsons na kishla nga zo tsam tsam ta troa lai di nga zo ki chidang nga zo sheba sheba di nga zo ki chi shedang da troa ki nga zo nyembo ro nga zo matun tsamre nga zo ki shedang da troa choa di choa numbu di pe choa numbu yu che shuk chenpo shu yu che den re ki nga zo ki shebe ki nyamne di mayung na den re ki choa troa choa di ki tsabla 교낭 당가 저기 다 셈두기 초아지기 디파 찹체로 찹체체요라 농랑어 찹라 셈두기 초아디 뇽스나 디딩아 저기 탑시 상아치 다 계속 서버 곰마 통나가 저기 탑시 니버지 체나 듣고 어레슬스
아니 다디 소베 sabla 아니 심독 채워줘라 심독 채워도 빠진 디세 카보로 채워 이나 다스 컨트롤 라인 젠체네 심독 때 대주라랑 형 연구를 가서는 녀몽배 로직 녀몽배 로직 란싱 제나 스템나 매티브션 란싱 연구를 다디 녀몽배 리렉트 컨데지는 고티베 쪽들 란싱 스템나 매티브션 연구를 다디 디 컨트롤 데 젠체네 심독 야랑하래 마도 심도 되게 콘도도 좀 받겠자 말했어. 콘도 때문에 괜찮네. 심도 들은 시간 용됐어. 되자다님 되자라서 왔다가 저기 요만배 레디 컨텐츠 첨부 좀 오늘 주가나 대마다도 셈마티와랑 시간 용됐어. 그 이펙트 뭐였어. 대 쇼견도.
So Geshe said that the particular thing you talked about substituting by sadness, Geshe said that sadness that you can substitute for that is not something that you are substituting in place of anger. Sadness is a consequence of anger. So in this case, sadness is something that naturally follows anger. And if you're feeling sad at that, if you try to feel like you want to substitute it by sadness, it is just that your sadness is more dominant in that particular situation. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you for that answer.
Okay. I think so now we should stop here today.
So we should stop here today.
Yeah, dedication prayer.
Thank you.
So Geshe, I'm going to start with the dedication prayers, and I'm going to share the screen. Please, everyone, mute your microphone. Thank you. Is it visible? No.
Yes, yes.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Great. I'm going to make it bigger. Okay. Dedication prayer from Bodhisattva's way of, dedication prayer from Shantideva ways of Bodhisattva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by suffering of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sound. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May all naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth. Those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and healed quickly be freed from the alliance. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound by be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other for as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remains. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. And now I would like to end the session by thanking Geshe La for these precious teachings, and Tenzin Lakpa La for the translation, and Menlai Jamse Tibetan Buddhist Center for offering this course, and all of you for your participation in the course. And before closing the session, I would like to remind you that the next class will take place on the 7th of April at 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And so thank you once again, and see you next time.
Thank you.